Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of SpongeBob Now. Today, I will be talking about One Course Meal, and Gary in Love. First, I'm going to talk about One Course Meal. Enjoy. As the episode opens, Mr. Krabs is sleeping in his money bath, when he smells something burning. SpongeBob then tells Mr. Krabs that it smells like Plankton with his new explosives. Plankton then blows up the Krusty Krab, while his machine captures SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs. Plankton tickles Mr. Krabs with a feather. SpongeBob accidentally reveals the location of the Krabby Patty secret formula. Then, Pearl comes to the kitchen. Plankton runs back to the chum bucket in panic, as it turns out he's terrified of whales. Afterwards, Mr. Krabs asks Pearl if he could use one of her dresses. Plankton tells Karen about his fear of whales and finding Pearl in the lab, along with how they ate his family members in the past. Unsympathetic, she tells him there are no whales in the chum bucket. Later, seemingly Pearl terrorizes Plankton. He flees inside the chum bucket, where Pearl quickly reappears, claiming she wants to eat Plankton. This goes on for 2 whole weeks. Plankton becomes severely traumatized and eventually has a nightmare about a demonic Pearl eating him and his kinfolk. Unknown to Plankton, it turns out that Pearl was actually Mr. Krabs in disguise the entire time and has been gaslighting him. The next day, Plankton appears on the road, laying on it to try to get run over by a bus. SpongeBob becomes concerned about this and confronts Mr. Krabs in his office and tries to ask him to stop harassing Plankton, but he refuses to listen. Mr. Krabs reminds SpongeBob that he revealed the location of the formula, which is a violation in the Krusty Krab rule book. Since Mr. Krabs won't listen to reason, SpongeBob then tells Plankton about Mr. Krabs' worst fear. Plankton suddenly stops his attempt to get run over and is surprised, but becomes angry when SpongeBob tells him that it has been Mr. Krabs disguised as Pearl that's been scaring him the entire time. SpongeBob leaves while Plankton is left with a plan to get revenge on his rival. Plankton decides to get revenge on Mr. Krabs by tormenting him with a mime, which turns out to be Mr. Krabs' fear. SpongeBob scares Plankton away with holographic whales to keep him from getting the formula. He then releases Mr. Krabs, and the episode closes as the mime continues to bother him. Next, I'm going to talk about Gary in Love. Enjoy. SpongeBob takes Gary to a snail park to play with other snails. Suddenly, Gary falls in love with a snail named Mary. Meanwhile, SpongeBob sleeps in the waiting chair. Then, another snail who is the boyfriend of Mary, gets jealous at Gary and threatens to stay away from her, but Mary hates him and falls in love with Gary anyway, which angers the other snail even further as he seeks revenge. Then, SpongeBob comes and tells Gary they are leaving, along with Mary's owner. At nighttime in SpongeBob's house, SpongeBob feeds Gary seaweed noodle stew for dinner and they go to bed afterwards. The next day, Gary sneaks out of the house to find Mary. SpongeBob awakens to find a picture of Mary under the plate Gary ate on, which he thinks is Gary, leading him to think that it is a ransom note from a snail napper, so he sets out to save Gary. Meanwhile, Gary stays onto a sidewalk with dozens of snail owners having a stroll. Then he sees Mary's owner going into a pet store and goes in himself. The clerk thinks he is a stray and puts him on sale. A few seconds later, the snail from earlier and his friends ransack the store so that the clerk can tell him where Gary is. During the ransack, Gary escapes. The other snails see what appears to be Gary, only to find out it is a vicious poodle worm. Gary then sees Mary but sees her in a boatmobile and jumps on top of other boats in order to find her. He succeeds, but SpongeBob finally finds him, along with the other snail. Then, a man from a soap opera Gary was watching in the beginning finds Mary's owner, who turns out to be his lost love. Beside him is a handsome snail whom Mary gets together with SpongeBob remarking over how heartbroken Gary is. The other snail forgives Gary and becomes friends with him by asking Gary if he wants to go get seaweed noodle stew with him. SpongeBob ends the episode by noting how fast snails grow up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Goodbye everyone.